And it's just like, do I want to do that again? Hey sailors, welcome back to Cruising as Crew. My name is Lucy, and today I'm basically going to be catching you up on where my head's at the moment in terms of going back on cruise ships. So for those of you who are new here, I have just finished a contract on board Virgin Voyages, the Scarlet Lady cruise ship, and now I am at home enjoying my time off, and I had an amazing time. That isn't to say that there wasn't challenges. For the first 3 months on board, I wasn't allowed to get off the cruise ship due to COVID, along with every other crew member on board a cruise ship. Being confined to a cruise ship is interesting. Crew members had to wear masks absolutely everywhere apart from your cabin. So that means like all day, apart from when you are eating and when you are sleeping pretty much, you have to be wearing a mask. It's a long time to wear a mask for. We were having COVID tests and like antigen tests a lot. There were like dividers in the mess, so you would go and sit down at a table, but there were these plastic dividers between you and the person who was sat opposite and also the person sat next to you, which I completely understand why they're there. They're obviously there to stop the spread of COVID, but it's annoying because you're trying to have a conversation with the person opposite you while you're eating, but they can't hear a word you're saying because there's a plastic divider in the way. This isn't a huge issue, but it was just an annoyance. Obviously everyone had to be mindful of social distancing, and we didn't have any crew parties on board until like coming to the very end of my contract. Because of social distancing, there wasn't any crew parties, there wasn't really many social gatherings as they were before COVID. Obviously completely understandable, but I think the social side of working on a cruise ship was definitely affected by these protocols that were put in place to stop the spread of COVID. And although I did make friends who worked in other departments, it was definitely harder to do that on this contract because not as many people were going to the bar. Like, you just didn't see as many people around. You couldn't even talk to people in the mess as easily because of those plastic dividers. So I consider myself very lucky that I got on so well with the people I worked with, because that really was the easiest place to make friends on board. Obviously I had to quarantine in a cabin for 2 weeks at the start of my contract, and for those of you who watch my quarantine videos, you will know that I made the most of it. I enjoyed it. But just because you enjoy something doesn't mean that it's not difficult. So yeah, I did make the most of it, but was being stuck in a cabin for 2 weeks difficult? Yeah, it was. And if I had to do that again, it absolutely wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but do I want to choose to do that again? Probably not. And most likely I won't have to do that quarantine period again because we've all been vaccinated, and that absolutely does affect whether you have to quarantine or not. But if you get COVID, you have to isolate in a cabin. And let me tell you, isolating in a cabin is a lot different to isolating in a house with multiple rooms. Both of them are difficult, but like, I'm sure if any of you have had to isolate in your bedroom in your house, it's a similar kind of thing. It's not fun. It's fun for about 5 hours and then you're like, I'm done. And yeah, at the end of my contract on Scarlet, all of these protocols were starting to dissipate. You know, crew parties were starting, more people were going to the crew bar. We still had to wear masks in passenger areas or sailor areas, but when we were in crew areas, we could take them off. The plastic dividers had gone in the mess. As you saw, crew members had been granted shore leave so we could get off in the ports. We weren't confined to the cruise ship, and obviously we were still sanitizing vigorously. We had the hand sanitizers around, we were still social distancing, but the general anxiety of COVID was starting to ease towards the end of my contract. And I don't think that was just on the Scarlet Lady, I think that was all over the world. You know, most countries are offering the vaccine, which was obviously a big breakthrough. We felt like we were getting some kind of hold on it, and everyone was, you know, starting to relax a little bit. But then this new lovely variant reared its nasty little head. And with this, it's like, well, we could potentially go back to square one in terms of like the cruise industry. And just before Christmas, we were talking to people who were still on board, like cruise shore leave had been stopped. They could only get off in Bimini, because in Bimini you can kind of keep the bubble, because as you get off the ship, there's a beach where pretty much no one else goes on it, so if the crew just like stayed on that beach and all the passengers went to the beach club, you can still like maintain that bubble. There's a lot of people, you know, guests and crew who are catching COVID on board, and of course they have to then go into isolation in a cabin, and it's just like, do I want to do that again? You know, when I went on Virgin in June 2020 to start this contract I've just come off, I was genuinely scared. I was excited, absolutely, but I was also scared. I had no idea what I was going to. Whereas this time, I kind of know what I'm going to, which is everything I've just explained. And that is possibly the best case scenario. And I'm sorry that this video is like all about COVID, but as I said, I'm just kind of telling you guys where my head's at. So I'm also apprehensive about how it's going to affect the cruise industry overall. Now, I watch a lot of cruise YouTube channels because they give great information. Justin gives fantastic information about what's going on in the cruise industry, so make sure you check out the Ship Life if you haven't already. It's fantastic. But it's like, does this new variant mean that there could possibly be another shut down on the cruise industry? Like, maybe not, it's very unlikely, but it's something to consider. And if I was my friend giving myself advice, I'd be like, Lucy, stop worrying about stuff that you can't control. You'll deal with it when it happens. But it's really hard to not worry about something that is going to have a huge impact on your industry and therefore your future. So there is a lot to think about, and it's all stuff that I can't control, so I've just got to wait and see how things pan out and make a decision based on the outcome and try not to overthink things in the meantime. I would like to know your thoughts on this because I am in a bit of a spiral, and I'd just like to get your advice. Like, I know that most of you guys who watch my channel are either crew members, wannabe crew members, or you cruise, you like to go on cruises. So just based on what I've said, I'd love to know what your advice would be or your thoughts are. So leave them in the comments and I'll like have a scroll through and have a read through later. But I'd really appreciate that, because hopefully some of you have got some wise words and it'll just help put my mind at ease. But then on the other hand, I'm just like, I had such an incredible time on the Scarlet Lady, and in a few months I'm not even going to remember the bad stuff that I've just mentioned. I'm just going to remember all the laughs that I had, because I meant what I said when I was having my leaving meeting and I was telling my team, I was like, I have laughed every single day that I've been on this ship. Like, amongst all the hard stuff that we've gone through while we've been here, I have been happy every day. Not all day every day, but at some point every day I've been really happy. So I mean, on that note, like, well, what are you worried about? Because even if you do go back and it is just as hard, it'll also probably be just as incredible. And I do think partly the reason that contract was so fabulous is because I went on board with such low expectations. You know, we were told there would be no crew bar, we would literally be going to work and then to the cabin. So when we were allowed little privileges, because I wasn't expecting them, I was very easily pleased. So maybe it's a good thing. Like, if I do go back on Virgin with low expectations once again, maybe it's just setting me up for another fantastic contract. And I also think another big reason why I'm questioning it is because having this YouTube channel has meant that a lot of other opportunities have come my way, which is incredible. But it also gives me a different perspective, because it's like, so if I do go back, it's because I really want to go back. And then you're like, do I really want to go back? And then you start going over all this stuff that I've just been through, and it's like, So it does change your perspective slightly, but as you guys know, I bloody love being a crew member. I have loved it since I started. The first few months on my first ship was really difficult, and then after that I've just loved it ever since. We will see. But yeah, I would absolutely love to know what your advice would be. If you would leave it in the comments, I would be forever grateful. You know, when you're in the middle of something, it's kind of hard to see clearly, and sometimes you need an outsider's point of view to help you see clearly. So if you would be my outsider's point of view, that would be fantastic. But I am enjoying my time at home, and I'm going to contemplate what I'm going to do. And I do have faith that things will just work out, whatever decision I make. But thank you for watching this video. Sorry that it's been a bit of a ramble, but I just thought I would, you know, let you in on where I'm at. If you have liked it, then please like it. And yeah, leave your comments down below. I will definitely have a read and get back to you. But yeah, thank you again, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Bye.